This episode is sponsored by the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Rounding out October entertainment is Charlie Crockett on the 18th and Queensryche on the 19th. Plus, don't miss a minute of football season. Join us in the sportsbook with a tailgate party on October 27th. Visit HollywoodCasino.com to see how you can reserve your package. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Milli Vanilli is back thanks to the Netflix series Monsters featuring the song Blame It on the Rain. I spoke with Milli and reggae artist Nomad about creating the new version, reflecting on Milli Vanilli's meteoric rise to fame and the lip-syncing controversy that shattered it all before an unexpected rebirth on Netflix a quarter century later. Hey Milli, aka Fat Morvan of Milli Vanilli, and Damon Elliott, aka Nomad. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes. What's up, Jason?
Hey, we're talking to you all here in the Washington, D.C. area because you have a reggae island remake of your classic Milli Vanilli hit, Blame It on the Rain. I just saw the video. I love how Damon, you're at the mic and Millie's at the switchboard. You even get a brief shot of songwriter Diane Warren, the legend. Talk about putting together the video. I think it's so cool to see you all again.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun making the video.
Thank you, man.
Yep.
Oh, and I guess we should say the song's back. The music theme of Netflix's Monsters, Lyle and Eric Menendez story. The song is like skyrocketing, like 68% spike or something since the show came out. Who reached out to who? Nomad, did you reach out to Milli, or was it someone at Netflix put you all together?
Yeah, well, I reached out to Fab because Diane, we're doing a tribute to Diane of her hits, and one of her biggest is Blame It on the Rain. So I chose to cover Blame It on the Rain, but give it the island reggae, twist, because that's what we're doing, island reggae versions of Diane's songs. So I called Fab and I said, hey man, I need your blessing, man. I want to cover this song. This is 7 months ago, this is long before the Netflix, the monster, no pun intended, happened. And Fab gave me his blessing and covered the song, and now here we are, right?
Damn! Who would have known that Monsters, all those songs? It's crazy.
Yep.
I know, right? And we should say, Nomad, you're the son of the legendary Dionne Warwick, and then of course you got the songwriting of Diane Warren in here. You had Milli, you had you. It's like a lot of, there's a lot of talent floating around in this thing.
A lot of talent.
How involved were you, Milli, how involved were you in putting together the new version? I know in the video we see you sitting at the switchboard, but how much, switchboarding was there? How much did Damon run with it, and how much were you involved?
Well, when Damon called me like 7 months ago, it was like, okay, dude, I want to redo this. It was like, man, you got my blessings. But it was like, no, wait, man. I want you to be involved as far as like the vibe, how I'm going to lay it. I was like, well, we talked about it. We said, no, let's make sure that we keep the integrity of the song because, it's a good song. It's a oldie but goodie and for life. So we don't want to change it too much. And then he sent me the reference and show me the vibe. And we know that reggae music lends itself well when it comes to covers. So we just went through it, and I was like, man, you're doing perfect. And that's what he does. Let's not get it twisted. Damon knows what he does as a producer. He's got the record, so I was not worried. But he let me into the process, and I was like, yo, man, you got my blessings. Let's go, and we couldn't go wrong with a song like Blame It on the Rain.
No.
Man, but the fact of the matter that Monster came around while Damon is doing that was like the perfect timing.
Yeah,
absolutely. And Nomad, do you remember hearing Blame It on the Rain when it came out in 80? I want to know you as a listener and budding, future musician yourself. Like when you're watching that meteoric rise, or was it before your time? Like I want to know, your experience with that original version, listening to it.
No, it was right at my peak of my teenage career. I mean, not for my teenage life. Like literally, I was just getting into, producing and writing and singing myself, and I wore that cassette out. When I tell you, man, like, blame it on the rain, girl, you know it's true. You know, don't forget my number. Like, are you kidding me? Like, my gosh. Yeah, and then I became friends, you know, with Fab and Rob, and we hung out at all the clubs. You know, I grew up in Beverly Hills. Ironically, I grew up one block away from, you know, Lyle and Eric Menendez, so I grew up on Elm. And we were all partying to the songs, you know, like teenagers do, you know, and it's just kind of like serendipitous now that here we are 35 years later I'm having the honor of having a version of such an amazing song written by a good friend of mine in Diane Warren. And, you know, and here I am with my brother, and he's so much love and support for everything I'm doing. You know, it's just wonderful. You know, it's incredible.
I love it, Milli. I mean, I know you were born in France, and the late Rob Pilatus grew up in Germany, and you all met and formed the pop duo in '88. But remind us how you came together. It was Frank Farina of Boney M, right? We all remember that Christmas song, Mary's Boiled Child, Jesus Christ. You know, everyone remembers Boney M, sort of a Euro-Caribbean vibe. But do you remember how...
Well, I'm going to try to make it short. But in essence, we were working with studio musicians that Frank Fine used to work with. In studio, we were very new in the industry. We signed a contract, which was, for me, I spoke English and French. The contract was in German, but I signed it anyway. There was a small advance money. We waited to go into the studio for some time, and when the time came for us to come to the studio, well, the songs were already recorded. I found that out later, and that's the reason why he didn't want us to sing on the record. So, because we received advance money through the month, we said, no, we're not going to do that. They said, well, you're going to repay me that money. And we were like, well, we can't really do that. So what we did was we said, okay, we do that one song and then we're out. But once we got into this, this rabbit hole, we got seduced by the life, by the love that we were reading, and we were fighting all through those months because it only lasted 2 years, but we sold over 7 million records, 33 million singles, and through all that, we're trying to fight and trying to sing, but we were never allowed to do so. When the time came for us to switch to another label, well, the producer went to the press and said, hey, they didn't sing. Instead of letting us do our own thing, he stopped it all, and then he just, you know, it didn't allow us to continue on without him. So all the chances we had to start something fresh and new, he destroyed them. That's what happened.
Well, thank you for being so open.
And the documentary, there's a documentary.
Yeah, it's called Milli Vanilli. And Milli, I do have to hit, you know, I know you all won Best New Artist at the Grammys in '90, and then they did that unprecedented thing where they rescinded it because of all the, you know, the lip syncing controversy, the track skipping live MTV, all that stuff. But I want to be respectful how I word this, but is there anything, like, do you feel misunderstood from that time? Is there anything you regret about that time, or do you think it's been written about in a way that's unfair? I just want to turn it to you, and, you know, whatever you want to say, I want to be respectful about it.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. The thing is, you know, the hypocrisy was incredible because they made over $300 million and then threw us to the curb. And then the journalists that were at the time of the story never bothered to investigate. True investigative journalism makes it so to a point get every character in the story. And they didn't do that. What they did is focus on Rob and Fab, which is ludicrous because there were multinational companies around the world that were handling the business with people that were getting paid and on salary, who put their kids through college, bought some houses, had a salary. But for some reason, Rob and Fab took the blame, no pun intended, for everything. And that is the one thing that's bothering me. But thankfully, the documentary is now showing all that and laid it all out perfectly. People have more of an understanding now with social media, because if social media way back when, it would have been very different. But back then, the pipeline and the media, there were only 4 pipelines. Once the news went through there, you were stuck with that. There was no way you could reverse what was told, you see? And I didn't have the power to overturn any of the things. But one more thing, misconception about the Grammys. He told the Los Angeles Times we wanted to give that Grammy back. And then they jumped the gun saying we want it back. The Grammy was on my mantle at home. So I could have kept it all those years, but I didn't because we thought it was the right thing to do to give it back. And let's not forget that if you look at the press conference, the way we were treated, It was so racist. It was insane. They were just, and were supposed to be there to investigate, but instead they just were trying to hang us really out to dry. And that was a terrible moment in time for me. But times have changed. People have understood. I'm getting support left and right. I'm on stage every weekend. I'm performing those songs. People love those songs. And Milli Vanilli, Fab Morvan, Rob Pilatus is synonymous. We're interconnected. And those songs now, years later, the new generation is now being introduced to those songs. And they've aged wonderfully. And to me, they're immortal songs. That's what they are. So music is life. Life is music and the soundtrack of our lives. So the new generation right now that are listening to those songs, maybe 20 years from now, they'll be like, oh man, that version from Nomad is amazing. The Rick, Blame It on the Rain. And this is what's happening right now. People are growing up on it and I love it.
Blame It on the Rain is back, thanks to you and Nomad. I really appreciate you joining us. Again, it's the new reggae remake of Blame It on the Rain. You can see it in the Netflix series Monsters. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate both of you. And rest in peace to Rob, too, the other half
Pleasure.
of Milli Vanilli.
R.I.P. 100.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.